Heidi Morgan here, interviewing Belynda CIanci, New Boston resident, whose children have been at New Boston Central School for 3.5 years. Belynda, you are known to many as the mom of the triplets. To be honest, I feel like if you can manage 3 children, all the same age, and have successfully made it through the toddler years with triplets, I believe you can handle anything. For those members of the community who have not yet had the pleasure of meeting you, could you please introduce yourself and give us a little background?
Sure. My name's Belynda, and I will contend that sometimes it feels like my triplets are managing me, but I think any parent has been in that same situation. We moved from Massachusetts in 2017 to be closer to family that lived in Bedford, and also, like many, we were looking for good public schools for our kids. We came from Massachusetts, and we just were looking for better enrichment programs and more involved teachers and smaller class sizes, all of the things that some other districts in our state had struggled with. And so we came seeking small town life, and we found it. Like I've said, online, we knew right away that New Boston was something different. We knew that it lived up to the ideals that you always hear about in small towns. It's very Norman Rockwell, eat your heart out, So the first time we drove into town to look at our house, we drove by the sign for the duck race. And I was like, I don't know what a duck race is, but that sounds adorable. What we learned is it's one of many small town traditions in New Boston and part of a community that just supports each other. We support each other through community outreach, and we support each other through things like the duck race to raise scholarship funds. And we live in a town where everybody is on the local Facebook board, and if somebody needs help moving a piece of furniture, or if they, run out of power and they need, to put insulin in someone's fridge, 5 people line up to help. That is a community that not many people can say that they enjoy. And so we've lived here for the last 5 years and really enjoyed every single minute of it. We moved up here for the schools, like a lot of people. I know, whenever we're in town, or whenever someone moves to town, we always know that someone's moving up from Massachusetts because they're looking for smaller class sizes and better enrichment programs and all of those things that New Hampshire schools excel at. We are, I believe, the top 8 in the country for education systems. That is enviable. Even in a place like New England, where we already have really great education, New Hampshire still shines, and New Boston specifically shines. So just like many people, we came onto the Facebook board and we said, hey, we're thinking of moving to town, can you tell me about the school system here? And people lit up. They were excited to share the school system and the educational benefits and the enrichment programs. So we knew right away that was the choice for us. And since we've moved here, we have found not just a place for our kids to go to school, we found a community of friends and volunteer opportunities. I'm now part of the duck race committee, but it's just such a different place, and we feel so at home here. And we've only been here 5 years, but we know this is our forever town.
So what has prompted you to run for school board?
Obviously, our school district is wonderful. We've had so many benefits over the last few years raising our family in NBCS. And what I noticed during the pandemic was we had a really hard time coming together as a community and making decisions that benefited the highest good of our students. And the big thing I noticed was bickering, really, getting online and arguing and that spilling over into school board meetings. And it broke my heart to see people at odds over really fundamental issues that serve every one of our kids. So what I realized during the pandemic was that we were having a really hard time finding consensus in the decisions that were being made for our children and being able to support our school system and support faculty who'd been really through the ringer trying to take care of their own kids at home who were also remote learning and meeting the needs of their students through a screen. Through all of that, I believe everybody in this town wants to do what's best for our kids. But we need to have a moderate voice that can help everybody reach consensus and We need to stay civil and we need to come back together after this really trying time that we've been through. And I feel as though I know this town well enough and I've made enough friends and I've had enough time in the school system where I can see both sides and I can try to be a creative problem solver and I can try to help us come together on the issues that really matter most, but that can be solved if we just commit to civility and temperate speech, and if we just keep in the forefront of our mind that what's important is that our children are well supported and that our faculty is well supported in doing the work every day. I had experience talking to parents from other school districts, and they would basically be like, all right, I got to get on my goalie gear, I'm going into my IEP meeting, and I didn't really understand what they meant by that. And then right at the beginning of the pandemic, we went through the IEP process ourselves, and it was nothing like what had been described to me by parents in other towns. So I felt fully supported, and my kids felt fully supported in a process that really recognized that they had areas of differing ability, and that our entire team was really committed to making sure that not only could they keep up with Ames Web scores, but that they kept their sparkle, as their second grade teacher said. We really felt supported for the kids to be learning alongside their peers and having their educational needs met, even though they had areas where they needed more help. I don't ever remember one of my girls coming home and saying, well, I had to be pulled out of class today. They would come home and say, I had a great day in math club, and I read this entire book. They would come home and really they would light up that they had had academic success, and their team helped them do that. We struggled with reading at the beginning of the year, and our caseworker really helped us, even over a screen, to stick with our reading every day and to identify areas where we could work together at home. And by, I'd say, the end of the first half, we had seen gains that we had not hoped to achieve. And I know that is all because our teachers and our paraprofessionals and our faculty are committed to making sure that all of our kids have what they need.
What do you see as the role of a school board member, and what personal qualities and attributes do you possess that can benefit the school board and the school community?
So, as many teachers have said, we have, one mouth and two ears for a reason. We should listen twice as much as we talk. And I feel like as a school board member, that is absolutely important. We need to open our ears to all sides. We need to take in information and concerns from parents, from faculty, and from our students, and use that information to make good decisions on behalf of the entire school community. I believe that we need someone on the school board who can be a voice for parents of all kinds of children, whether that is parents like myself who have medically fragile children, children who need special supports in school, children who need extra enrichment because they excel, parents of typically developing children that just want to see the best for their kids. We need someone who is going to listen more than they talk and take in all sides and use the community as the foundation of the decisions that they make.
Obviously, these last 2 years during the pandemic have been challenging for the school community, and hopefully the pandemic is coming to an end as COVID-19 becomes endemic into our society and part of everyday life. What is it that you see, what do you see as the top 3 issues for New Boston Central School moving forward?
I've spent a lot of time talking not only to parents, but to teachers about what they are seeing in their classrooms. And because they are on the ground every day with their kids, and they see what happens day to day. And what I'm hearing a lot is that it's not focusing on the metrics. It's not focusing on what we've lost and what we need to make up and how we meet the benchmarks and how we are going to bring up our standardized test scores. What our teachers really need and what they've said they need is the chance to get our footing back after 2 years of remote learning and emotional upheaval and illness and uncertainty. Kids are resilient, but they are not impenetrable. They take in everything around them. They have experienced this pandemic just as keenly as all of us have. And we're now asking them to go back into, our new normal and learn at the same rate and using the same metrics as we did pre-pandemic, which is just not practical. We need to work on building them back up, building their confidence, getting them reacquainted with being in the classroom and interacting with each other and interacting with people after 2 years of only seeing them from the nose up. All of those things have impacted them, and we need to give them a good basis for beginning the work again. We need to get them on solid emotional footing, and we need to give them what one teacher described as Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is, security and security in your housing, security in your food, feeling as though you are in a safe and controlled environment. Once you meet your essential needs, then you are better prepared to work on your academics, to, go for standardized testing, to be able to excel academically because you feel prepared emotionally. Many adults still don't feel prepared emotionally to go back into the workplace and function as they did before. And when you focus solely on academic achievement after 2 years of a pandemic, you cannot expect kids to perform out of the gate as they did before. While we can't regain learning losses, while our trajectory has changed, we can build from where we are right now and make sure every student has what they need to be able to thrive now and into future years.
House Bill 1671 is a proposed bill that would cut core knowledge domains. It would remove art, health, and physical education and others from the core academic requirements. For most parents who've been part of the New Boston Central School community over the years, we have delighted in watching our children take part in music performances and plays, the Artist in Residence programs. Where do you stand on this bill?
I thoroughly reject anything, any bill, any proposal that seeks to make the arts, the humanities, world languages irrelevant or superfluous or elective, or any bill that seeks to save money or compress, academic time by relegating it to a screen. For one thing, former band and chorus girl here, so I grew up in programs that really helped me, especially through some of my own educational challenges. I could rely on being in an environment that supported me and where I found achievement and where I could take some of the lessons that I learned in those, the core four and apply them. The child that is learning fractions in school can sit down and look at a piece of sheet music and understand a quarter note from a half note from a whole note. And they can apply the knowledge that they learned in their math class in those places where they can also feel inspiration and creativity. It's not different than a child who maybe struggles with fine motor and they go to art class and they refine their grip and they get to learn about shapes and they get to learn about shape copying in a way that is not threatening, in a way that makes them feel proud and makes them feel like they are making academic gains. These are things that you cannot just integrate into the rest of the school day and eradicate. I think one of the disingenuous parts of this bill is that for many communities, nothing will change day to day. I don't see art or music or world languages going away in New Boston, mostly because parents seek out our school district for our enrichment programs. The first question people ask when they're going to move to town, they come on Facebook and they say, "How is your budget efficiency?" No, they don't. They say, "How is your school system? What programs are there for my children? What after-school activities do we have?" They are not asking, how low our budget is, even though we are the 4th lowest per student in the state. They are asking, what will our children experience as part of NBCS? So on the one hand, yes, any bill that would eradicate those as core domains, I think is dangerous. I don't think anything will change at NBCS, but it will remove educational equity. Children that live in other school districts might lose those programs because their district can't afford them. We will end up with a system in which children living in more affluent towns will continue to enjoy those extracurriculars and those enrichment programs, and maybe some others will do without. In New Boston, we are in the top quartile by median household income. We are separated only by, I think, about $25,000 in median income between the very top of the list, towns like Bedford and Amherst. We enjoy really great funding for those programs, and those aren't going to go away. But there are other towns that don't have those abilities. There are other towns where the median income might only be $50,000 or $60,000 a year, or that are property poor, and so they don't have the tax base to be able to support what is being described as extra programs, which they're not extra programs. They are absolutely essential to whole child learning. So if you create inequity in a system, you will end up with kids who just do without. And I think any bill that wants to make things elective is really unhealthy for our educational system.
So in closing, what would you say to the voters of New Boston? Why should they vote for you?
I think voters are looking for an option that can listen to both sides. I also think voters are looking for an option that preserves many of the traditions that have made New Boston Central School a great place to learn and grow. We are a special school, and we are a special school district, and we are staffed by faculty and advisors and teachers who truly care about our students and really understand them and know the value of the education that NBCS provides. So I am the candidate that is going to largely preserve what is already in place for New Boston, which is academic excellence and wonderful enrichment programs and extracurricular activities that you can't find anywhere else, like our ski program, and just the small town feel of being able to send your kids to a school and feel certain that they are going to have a great experience and that they're going to thrive academically and socially. Over the next chapter, we're going to build upon the wonderful foundation that our teachers and our faculty have built for us. We're going to do better, and we're going to see our children thrive even in the face of the adversity of the last few years. I think if you want a candidate who's going to support the Bobcat spirit and the wonderful work that we do as a school, I am your candidate.